what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've lived it, heard about it, seen it, and now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community, because sales is the greatest opportunity on earth. It literally gives you whatever life you want to live from whatever background you've been through, and all you got to do is pick up the phone and call the damn leads. Do the work. And today's guest is someone who I've witnessed doing the work day in, day out, calling the damn leads, stirring up a damn ruckus on the internet. He's my friend. He is the CEO and founder of Genesis Lifestyle Medicine. He's also a badass doctor. He's Mr. Alex Spinoso. What's up, brother?
What's up, Drew B? Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Of course, I appreciate you being with me today, and I want to jump right into this, man, because this is a show all about wild-ass sales stories, and I know you've got one for me, so I want you to line it out, brother. What you got?
Yeah, so I will tell you kind of how we started our business and it's because, I didn't have a business before, and I had to sell my business partner on actually working with me. So about 5 years ago, I was working in the prison systems, General Pop Yard in California, and I was also working in multiple urgent cares, doing great. Didn't have a problem with that. The thing was, after a while working in the government, I got absolutely just tired of working for the government. I was working about 16 real hours a week out of 40. The rest of the time I was surfing on the internet or trying to read books or something like that, because they yelled at me for doing too much while I was in a government job because I was making other people look bad. So they told me to slow down and do less work. That lasted for about a year until I really wanted to just pent up rage kill myself or somebody else. And it's just like I couldn't do this anymore. And I decided that with my wife, I talked to her and I said, look, we're going to move out of our home. We had a beautiful home in Palm Springs. We had a beautiful view of like the mountains around Palm Springs, pool in the front yard, absolutely gorgeous. So I talked my wife into moving out of our house, and I sold her on this idea that if we move out of our house, I will rent it out. It's going to make us a boatload of money renting it out, and we'll save all that money and I'll build my own business, and then we'll be filthy rich. So we moved out of that house. We moved into the foyer of a crack house, and literally it was a crack house. It was 5 bedrooms. Every bedroom was rented to a different person, and there was no bedrooms left over. So we lived in the foyer, which is like the front little living room with giant 6x8 sheets of plywood that we used as our door and our walls. We would slide that back and forth with all of our stuff in this room. And I sold her on living there, and we lived there for a year and a half. I thought, half a year, we'll save up money, we'll be out of here. Yeah, a year and a half later, we're still living there. We had moved up from the foyer to the master bedroom, so we had an ensuite bathroom, absolutely badass. We had about $100,000 saved up, and a Arete syndicate came about, which was a mastermind that I felt like I had to be a part of. So I applied, I got in, God knows why, because it was supposed to be for entrepreneurs and I had 0 businesses at the time. I sat my wife down and said, look, I don't know what it's about, but I feel like I got to spend half of our life savings on this event. And she said, you know what? You don't spend your money on anything else? Okay. So that's sale number 2. Same person, so I don't know if it's like recurring sales. I don't know if that really counts. However, the biggest sale is when I actually got into the event, because the event was really based off of building a business or growing a business or scaling your business. It was ran by Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, who are legends in our game, and I didn't have a product. I didn't have anything to sell. I didn't have anything at all. So what I ended up doing, and all I knew was medical shit, how to read blood work, and how to help people lose weight. So fortunately, they ended up having this weight loss competition between each other. And it started with Ed and Andy betting each other who could lose the most weight or be a goal weight by a certain time. And they each bet $50,000 to the loser's charity of choice. Then other people started to join in, like $10,000 here, $15,000 here, $50,000 here. And most of the group actually joined. I kept my fucking mouth shut because I didn't have any money. I spent like half of my life savings to be there. So I wasn't about to put any of that money on the line. I'm stupid, but not that stupid. These guys had businesses, had money to be able to throw it into the pot. Now, all these guys had to lose weight, and none of them had any fucking clue how to do it. which is great because that's where I came in. I started to help one of the guys, then two of the guys, and then it ended up being about 12 people that I ended up helping. And every single one of them, actually 11 people, reached their goals. One person didn't because he reached out to me like 2 weeks before the end and had about 25 pounds to lose. And I was just like, we'll try and do water weight dropping and stuff like that, but I don't think you're going to make it, bro. After that, when they all started talking about their experience and how they did it and why they did it, my name kept coming up over and over and over, which I started to realize was the biggest part of sales. Give. Because I had nothing to give. I had no expertise. I had no reason to coach these people in terms of business. I had nothing to help them out on the business side of things. All I could do was help with what my expertise was. And it just happened to be in weight loss and hormones. So I got everybody balanced and I helped everybody lose weight, and nobody gave up any money, which was what their goal was for. Kind of ironic doing this for charity. But at the end, everybody pitched in some more money afterwards. So it was a happy ending. But after that, my name started to come up over and over and over in the circles. And, Ed and Andy brought me up and kind of called me out for it and helping everybody else through it. And I ended up meeting another guy who was in that group named Brent Messer. Now, Brent had ran medical clinics before. That's what he was there for. He was looking to expand his supplement line while he was there. And we started talking to each other because he needed a new medical director that was kind of forward thinking, wanted to grow his business, etc. And he asked if I would be his medical director. And since I had been there to not actually work for somebody else, I told him absolutely fucking not. I am not here to work for you nor anybody else. I'm here to learn a business or build a business by the end of this year as a year-long mastermind. And he said, well, why don't we just become partners? And I was like, now you're talking. So it was the hard sales tactic that, no, I'm not here for a job. I'm here for a business. I'm here to create a business. I sold him on us being business partners. I said, I can help grow your business. You replace your medical directors with me. I'll be able to get licensed in all your states. I'll do it for free. And then we'll just build this business together. After that, we ended up starting our first business in Las Vegas in 2019. Now we have 19 locations. We've got about 8 to 10 more coming on board this year. So we'll have probably, the goal is 30 locations by the end of the year. Since then, he's given me equity in the clinics that he owned before. There was 4 of them. So we are partners in that. And then every other clinic since then, we have been partners in, and we've grown massively off that. So I guess my craziest sales story is the sales story that I got my wife to move out of our house, live in a crack house, give half of our life savings to this random event where I told a potential business partner to fuck off, I don't want to work for him, and sell him on the idea that partnership was a better idea and start the business.
There's about 19 different things we can start unpacking from this, but I want to start with the first one of selling your wife. This is the number one thing when it comes to sales. What's the number one objection? Hey, I got to talk to my wife. Yeah. And so I absolutely love that story because there's so much to that in the sense of, you had a fantastic career. You could have stayed where you were and lived comfortably, I'm guessing, for the rest of your life. Yeah. And yet you chose to walk away from that, give it all up, and say, you know what? There's more to life than just sitting here scrolling YouTube, fucking off, being told I'm working too hard. And so I'm going to go tell my wife, who's an amazing human being, by the way, and you guys have a really great family now, and I know there's a long story to that too, but it's like, hey, babe, guess what? All this comfortable stuff, we're going to go move into a crack house, even though we don't have to. We're just choosing to, because you had that faith in yourself. And then when you got to that point where, most people would say, hey, this is perfect. It's perfect timing. We have the money in the bank. We have the opportunity. You went and said, nope, I'm going to go double down and reinvest in myself to get in the right room with the right people. And you didn't even have any sort of real plan other than, hey, I'm going to figure it out. And that's the other side of the sales game that I think is so, so powerful, is that just steadfast commitment and that belief. And so if you're in sales and you're listening to this and you have to sell your wife on going forward with some crazy opportunity, go back and listen to this, because think about it. That whole belief in himself is what really allowed him to get to where it took 18 months, but now he's got 19 clinics across the country. He's got, all of these things, but he had to slowly step in. And the first person he had to sell was his wife. Dude, that's so crazy. And I
Yeah.
know
And
that.
it was really my conviction. And that's one of the biggest things in sales is that your conviction has to be greater than their conviction that your solution will actually work. So if you're absolutely convinced and your conviction is just like, yes, this is going to work for you, this is a solution to your problem, they already have a conviction that your solution is not going to work from the very beginning. So you have to be more convincing than they are against you. And that's where that, like, I got to talk to my wife comes from. And at the beginning, like, people that don't have a good rapport or don't have a history of wins, those are the people that still have to talk to their wives. So teaching that person empowerment, getting them empowered through the consult, through the sale, which for my wife was really like building her up and making sure that she's taken care of like we always should do in a relationship. But at the second part of that is that the reason why I had to ask her at that moment whether or not I could do this was because I had not built up wins for her to trust me. Now I do $100,000 deals, $1 million deals, multi-million dollar deals, et cetera. And I don't have to ask my wife whether or not I should do it because I've stacked up wins over and over and over to where she knows, okay, we'll be okay no matter what he decides. I'm not betting the house on shit now. I'm making sure that they're still taken care of, my wife and my kids, but at the same time, that allows me the freedom to take some risks here and there.
Yeah, and I think the other side of that that's really beautiful too is that when you stepped into this, you recognize like, hey, I've got a limited skill set. Now, granted, you're a doctor and you've spent years perfecting your craft. So like all that aside, you went into this new venture, this new journey going, I don't know what I don't know. But what I'm going to do is bring what I know to the people around me in obsessive form, and what that allowed you to do was show up and serve your community. And in doing so, you planted seeds. And yeah, I think it's hilarious that all of these people did this huge thing for charity and then didn't pay the charities. I mean, I understand that they came back and did something later, but like,
Yeah.
that's another side of things when you put yourself under the gun like that and you say, hey, I've got a goal and I'm going to hit it no matter what. And if I don't, the consequences are so bad that I'm not willing to risk it. That's such a beautiful thing too, because you just showed up and were like, well, I'm not a business owner and I probably shouldn't even be here, but since I am here, I'm going to do whatever I can to provide value in whatever way possible. And I think so many people miss that because they're just trying to look for like, how can I sell something? How can I like, it's not about the sale. It's about the service. And that's another side of what's allowed you to take yourself from, a couple clinics to you guys have them all across the country now. So from a leadership perspective, I know sales isn't necessarily your forte. However, I would, reject that for you because I think you're a great salesperson because you genuinely care. But how do you translate that into your staff so that they can have that same sort of mentality?
The way we transfer it into our staff is twofold. One, we make sure that they live our core values. So we have our core values. I mean, they carry cards around. We have bookmarks with it. We have an acronym, dig deep and act with integrity, so that they are able to pull the core values out every single situation they have, whether it's with a client, whether they're going through progressive discipline in our company, whether they're hiring somebody else. Everything ties back to those core values. And one of those core values is customer service. And quite honestly, if you put that at the forefront of really anything that you're doing, you're obviously selling people what they need, not what they want. You're educating the client on what they're getting. You're following up with them. You're making sure they have a great time, or their service is top notch. You're asking for feedback from them. You're asking for referrals for them. That's all encompassed in customer service. That's part of their training. And the second part of that is their training. We do video trainings on it. We have our clinic directors who are our executives in the company training them on it, going through situations, going through playing back and forth and different things like that, and to make sure that they understand really the client, not that they're always right, but the client is why we're here. We want them to get the best results possible. So what are the things that we have to do in order for them to get the best results possible? They came to us, and in today's world, that is a huge ask. I don't know why, but pre-COVID, it was different where you did not appreciate people as much, or I don't think people appreciated people as much going to their business or spending time with them. Now it's almost a commodity of time. People have started to realize that time is a commodity. So when we teach our staff, we teach them, hey, they're literally booking something, changing their schedule around, driving to your location, sitting with you and having a consultation, and then driving home. So they're spending 2 hours of their day minimum with the drive, the consult, the leaving with us, or doing something that revolves around us. There should be no reason why that patient leaves empty-handed with nothing, period. You should do whatever you have to do to make sure that patient gets closed or that patient gets sold before they walk out, because they came to you because they wanted something. It's not like we're just picking people off the street and browbeating them over the head, or, you know, even door knocking, because our business is different. We don't have to door knock. We're not door knocking selling people Botox and fillers and weight loss meds. They're coming to us. They're spending time out of their day to come to us. They want to buy our product. So it's up to us to make sure that we provide ridiculous customer service, a ridiculous feeling, make sure they're comfortable with buying from us. If they're not comfortable, or if they say no, it's because they don't trust us for some reason. So we need to have gain their trust, gain rapport, came up with a solution that is a solution to their problem, not just a solution in general, but a solution to their specific problem, and then follow up on the backside of that and make sure that they get their results.
I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but he just gave you a masterclass in sales. And it's literally going right back to where it starts of, how am I serving this individual? If they are going to invest their time and energy, which are the true finite resources in the world. Like, we all know how to make money. We can get more money. Time and energy, like, especially like you said, after COVID, now that we recognize this, these are finite resources. So if someone's investing that in you or your business, it is an imperative that you do everything within your power to get them the result they're looking for. And if you can't, that's okay too. Be very upfront about that and just say, you know what, we're not a good fit, but I do have a good fit for you with XYZ referral. Let me send you over there so that you guys can work together. They can get you what you truly need. And that's one of the things that I've always really enjoyed about working with you, Alex, is that if I come to you and I'm like, hey man, I got this thing that I'm thinking about, you're one of the first people to go, hey, that's a great idea. And you may not need to go down that route yet. Maybe think about this or think about this, because you want to make sure that for me personally and for every client that you work with, they're getting the desired result, not just for now, but for the long term of their life. Because a lot of stuff when it comes to, medicine especially, there's putting a Band-Aid on it, not actually getting to the root of the problem. And what I love about working with you guys is that you're right down to the roots. Let's get the big thing fixed, and then this is a long-term solution, not just a right now deal. Going all the way back to what questions are you asking and how are you making sure that they've got what they need. And it's so great to work with people like you who understand that, because there have been times where I've come to you and like, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. And you're like, no. Don't waste your money yet. It's not worth it. Like, if you were in a position to need it, I'd tell you. However, here's another alternative. And I think that's something that it has to be developed. And I think it comes back to those core values. And I think one thing too that could be valuable for our listeners from a leadership perspective is, how do you sell your team on those core values when you're hiring them in? Like, what are you making sure that they know to, like, hey, if you commit to this, these are the results you're going to see personally?
I think the right hire, and there's always that question, how do you find great people? You don't find great people, you find good people, make them great people. But the right hire will have about 6 of your 8 core values. They'll have most of your core values. And there might be some that are absolutely just non-negotiable, like integrity. But a person might not know how to provide great customer service because they may not have been in sales before, or they may not have been in the system before, or they might be a medical assistant or a nurse practitioner or a doctor who customer service, we don't get taught customer service. And quite frankly, most people don't give a fuck. Like, do you want to stay alive or not? So they're so science-based and so book-based that the customer service part isn't taught. That being said, there are going to be positions where when you hire, they have to have certain core values. And so you got to make sure you have a scientific written down standard operating procedure for that. hey, for this position, they at least have to have these core values. For this position, they at least have to have these core values. And really, every single person, if they don't have this one or two core value, they're just eliminated immediately. And then you ask questions in your interview based around those core values and positioning. Most people, unfortunately, get into an interview or set up an interview process where you're just having the person describe themselves to you. It's like, you could have done that by reading their fucking resume. There's no reason why a person should sit in front of you and you should say, tell me about yourself. You should know about them, and then you should ask questions that are completely unrelated to their CV to see how they would act in real life. And then in our system as well, we take them out to lunch or coffee, and we meet them and talk to them at a coffee shop and bullshit at a coffee shop, because we see how they react. We don't expect them to pay for anything, but we see if they try to pay for their staff member. We see if they treat the wait staff friendly, how they speak to people, how they talk to people, where they're at. We see how they're acting in real life, as well as have live demonstrations in the clinic as well, where they're having a day or two working in the clinic. And this is all paid. It's their paid time. But it helps you interview them and see how they work and see how they're going to do. And yes, they could totally fake it for 3 days. Absolutely. But then they will see how the core values are and how you work and how the staff works. So if they don't like those 2 days, we've had people, quit before they even start on those first 2 days because the culture wasn't good for them or they didn't feel right, which eliminates a lot of people who would cause issues later on, which is a great thing. Now, along with that, you need to make sure, obviously, your staff is living the core values, because there's times where you might not have a staff member that's living the core values and they're bringing somebody on, and that person bringing somebody on is living the core values or is going to live the core values, and they see your staff and say, well, that's incongruent. That person is not what this business, what I thought this business was, and they will leave. We had that issue before, and we have to go back and fire that employee based off that feedback. Because that's a third-party person. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the thing that I love about this is that your main focus is about the individual and just making sure that you're giving them every opportunity to be successful. And you're basically letting them fumble the bag at that point, or make the decision that, hey, I'm not willing to do the work or live up to these values in order to be a part of this team. And so they're just separating themselves. And that's what great culture is. And that's one of the things that I've loved watching you over the last few years. Because I remember, when we first met, like way back in 2019, you were kind of just you were just getting out of the apartment. You were just starting to build your businesses, and to see the massive amount of growth that you've accomplished in 5 years is nothing short of incredible. And I know it's just the beginning of what's coming for you and your family. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. If the listeners getting some value out of this, and maybe they're kind of wondering, do I need to speak to someone about my health and my hormones and getting balanced? Or maybe they are someone who's an extremely high operator who realizes that, hey, I can make lots of money, but if I don't survive long enough to do anything with it, it's not going to get me anywhere. What's a good way for them to reach out to you or find you, or just kind of start that conversation if they're interested?
Yeah, absolutely. The rich man asked for 1,000 things, but the unhealthy man only asked for one. And so people can always reach out to me via Instagram, Dr. Alex Spinoso. They could find me on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. They can find me kind of anywhere. However, you don't have to go to my business in order to get blood work done. There's so many functional health doctors, functional health providers, medical weight loss centers, et cetera, that can get you right. So the first things first is making sure that you're getting your blood work done. And really, you should be getting your blood work done after the age of 33 with your hormones every single year. And when I say hormones, your primary care doctor is not doing your hormones 99% of the time. They're doing a thyroid and they're calling it a hormone. No, you need to do all the testosterone panel, free testosterone, SHBG, and estradiol, and progesterone, and all these other hormone levels to make sure those are balanced. Because 9 times out of 10, a midlife crisis or depression in the middle of your life or anxiety in the middle of your life is not your kid's fault. It's not your job's fault. Most of the time, it's a hormone imbalance, because really after the age of 35, everybody's testosterone and hormone production in general, the adrenals start to, crap out. And the reason why is because, hey, we used to live, only 30 to 40 years. 40 was like ancient. Our actual body physiology has not changed. Only medicines and anti-aging stuff and things like that have allowed us to live longer. But we really haven't fixed the issue with some organs that just crap out, which is 90% of the time your adrenals and your hypothalamic pituitary cycle, all those things where your hormones naturally still are going to just fail. And at that point, you should be getting your hormones checked to replace the hormones that you're losing to make sure that you're still balanced like you were in your 20s and early 30s. Make sure you're feeling good. Make sure you're operating at the highest level, getting the best sleep, having the best sex, being able to keep up with your kids. Those are all things that are important. And for high operators and for high level salespeople, you should be taking care of yourself first and foremost. There's so many people that'll go out there and buy a Lambo and they're just fat as hell and eat like crap and their blood work is terrible and they're like, I'm great, but they feel like crap. If you take care of your health first, it's almost like reinvesting into your business. If you reinvest into yourself and take care of your health, then you're going to be able to produce more money. And it's just a matter of time before that money's so much that you cannot spend it more on your health or you cannot spend it more on your business. And that's when you start to get that cash flow to be able to do whatever the heck you want. But you'll be younger, both, in age as well as like internally.
I tell you what, man, one of the things that I really love about you is how you immediately went and said, it doesn't matter who you work with, just make sure you do these things. That's the kind of man you are, and that's why I love you, brother, and why I'm so grateful that we get the opportunity to know each other and to have a platform like this to share your message and your journey because, man, you are changing lives, you are helping people, and the thing that I really know is that if you are a high operating entrepreneur, everything that he just said is what you need to be thinking about because it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you don't get to hang around to enjoy it or pass it on to your family, what's the freaking point? So, Alex, thank you so much for being here today, man. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity. I cannot tell you how grateful we are. And I know some people got some huge value out of today.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. Remember, guys, call the damn leads.
My man, he got it. So if you guys like this episode, make sure you share it on social media, tag us, do all of the amazing things that let other people know you got some value here today because that's what Dr. Alex came to do. And if you have a crazy sales story like selling your wife on moving into the foyer of a crack house so that you can save your money to build a business, go over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send me your information. I'd love to have you on the show. We'll see you guys on the next one.